It had been 5 years since Amy broke it off with Sly, and they lost contact with one another soon after she passed her bar exam and became a licensed attorney in Colorado. When asked about her by his friends and acquaintances, Sly would say they were only dating, it was a passing thing, nothing really serious happened between them, even though in his heart he knew that wasn't true. Despite being hustled himself by a 22-year-old babyface posing as a high school student, Sly's reputation as Slick the Stick had grown to legendary status, especially in his bread and butter territory, the mountain towns. Every teenage boy working as a busboy, dishwasher, barback, or waiter seemed to know who he was, and when the subject of pool playing came up, so did his name. At first, he enjoyed the notoriety. It meant that tourists, hunters, skiers, campers, and bored conventioneers would be gunning for the chance to hustle him at his own game. Like modern-day bounty hunters with an afternoon or night free, they would welcome the chance to take him down. If a high school kid could do it, so could they, and with pockets full of recreation dollars to spend, Sly couldn't help but cash in. But it didn't take long before big money stopped coming to the tables, and Sly was met instead by 12-year-old kids and grandpas slapping $5 bets on the pool table reel for a chance to brag they had played Slick the Stick, and Sly had to decide if he wanted to move on to a new territory or abandon his celebrity and diversify. It was 6 a.m. and Sly was sitting at a table for two in the corner of the Snowmass Village Hotel dining room when she walked in with a silver-haired man dressed in a business suit who was talking on his cell phone. At first, Sly wasn't sure he recognized her, but then their eyes met and she quickly looked away. "I have to take this call. You know what I want, have them make it for takeout when you leave. I'll eat on the way to the airport. Remember, the shuttle leaves at 7, meet me in the lobby," Sly overheard the man say. Then he was gone. The woman looked at the menu, ordered from the waitress, and checked her cell phone messages before looking over at Sly and smiling. She was Amy. Sly rose and came to her table. "I was beginning to think you were going to give an old friend the cold shoulder," he said. "No, I wasn't sure you wanted to know it was me, and I didn't want to make you uncomfortable. How are you?" "Very well, thanks. You?" "The same." "You're up early. I remember this was the time you sometimes went to bed, not got up," Amy said. "I almost didn't recognize you. What happened to the red hair?" "That was part of my wardrobe in the old days." "What wardrobe?" Sly said. They both laughed. "I went back to my natural dirty blonde with highlights when I switched professions. It was hard not to overhear that you're catching a flight this morning. Where are you headed?" "Casper." "Oh, on business?" "No, home. We were here for a business meeting with some Colorado oilmen," she said. "Was that man you came in with one of them, or is he your law partner?" "Neither, he's my husband." "I see. Congratulations, how long have you been married?" Sly asked. The waitress interrupted them with a pot of coffee and water. "Are you ready to order, sir?" "Yes, I'll have the buffet," Sly said. "And do you want me to move you to this table, sir?" the waitress asked. Amy nodded yes to her. "And I need a breakfast sandwich and black coffee for takeout when I leave at 7, she said. While they were in the buffet line, Amy got back to answering Sly's question. "Almost 3 years. After I passed the bar and got my license, I wanted to join a Denver law firm as an associate, but the ones I interviewed with turned me down. I was not at the top of my graduating class, and never dreamed I would be because I worked while I was in law school, but I couldn't find a job at even the smallest law firms. A couple of ambulance chasers wanted to hire me, but I could tell by the way they looked me up and down that my legal mind was the last thing they cared about." "Do you think your part-time job as an exotic dancer had anything to do with being that?" Sly asked. "Who knows, they would never have told me that was the reason because it might open them up to a discrimination lawsuit. I never put it on my resume, but that didn't mean they didn't find out about it." "What does that have to do with you getting married?" Sly said. "I'm getting to that." She took a bite of the scrambled eggs and a sip of coffee before continuing. "I was running out of money and getting ready to go back to the strip club to work when I saw an ad for an oil company landman on one of my social media accounts. LinkedIn must have matched my attorney background to the job skills somehow. Anyway, I applied for it and Stan hired me. That's when I moved to Wyoming and took the job." "And Stan is the guy you're here with, and your husband?" "Right." I worked mostly in rural Wyoming and Colorado negotiating oil and gas rights on properties for Stan's Oil Company, and I was very successful at it. Stan's company was small and we became close working together. So close, I confided my past to him and he was okay with it. Until one day when he came to me and said he was getting complaints from some of the ranchers and farmers, mostly their wives, about me being too pretty and friendly with their husbands. He said he could either fire me or marry me, but either way, he needed to pull me out of the field. He was a sweet guy, divorced with grown kids and living a bachelor's life, so I said yes and signed on. That's it? You spent all that time and money on law school and never got to practice law? That's too bad, Sly said. I never said I didn't practice, I do practice law. After we married, I opened a storefront legal office for family law with a small endowment from Stan's company and a few other Casper Oil companies' help. We are partially self-sustained, but there is a lot of need and much of our work is pro bono. Believe it or not, after I left the business, I missed working with the girls at the strip club, and some of the customers, especially the lonely ones, the divorced, widowed, and hopelessly unmatchable ones. Sure, they were there to look us over, but what most of them wanted more was to feel like they were with a woman again. They wanted to talk to us as much as look at us. We were like a chapter of outcast girls in the worldwide sorority of strippers, at risk from nut jobs, sex fiends, our jealous husbands and boyfriends, and club owners who wanted to treat us as their personal property. Wives thought we were all prostitutes, cops wanted to protect us for favors, and society put us on one of the lower rungs of its ladder, ensuring we were always stepped on when they learned what we did for a living. So, I represent a lot of lower rung people who need legal help and don't care about my past. A lot of clients, not just my ex-sorority sisters, tell me they come to me because of it. I think they know I can identify with them. It sounds like you are meeting the goals you set out to achieve, even though they depend upon your past, Sly said. What is that supposed to mean? Not what you might think. They sat looking at each other in silence for a few seconds, each wondering where the conversation was going next. What about you? You're not wearing flannel and denim anymore, so I'm guessing you're no longer slick the stick playing pool for a living or have found a higher income bracket to hustle, Amy said. Yeah, you might say that's the case. Which one? A little of both. Well, tell me about it. I filled you in on what I've been up to. What can I say? You were right, strippers and pool hustlers have shelf dates and need to know when it's time to quit and move on. I returned home one Monday morning during ski season from what would normally have been a financially rewarding trip to Steamboat Springs and wasn't. Truth is, the whole year had been a bust. Everybody knew who I was and I couldn't get a bet that was worth taking. There was a talk show on TV and I was half listening to it while I fixed breakfast. The guest was an 18-year-old girl who had created her celebrity persona on social media as a hair, makeup, fashion, and lifestyle trendsetter. She had 50 million internet views of her videos and daily tips and advice on social media. She had just surpassed 20 million in annual revenue from product sponsors and her hair, skin, and makeup lines of cosmetics. She was a baby tycoon, a self-made tsunami of attitude and fresh face. And she started all this empire using her iPhone from her bedroom in her parents' house. So, I spent the day taking a personal inventory of my life, skills, and future possibilities. The next day I sold the pool hall to Jake, the owner of the Suds and Duds, and bought an iPad and a book about making and editing videos for the internet. In 3 months my pool instruction videos made me one of the top views on YouTube. By the end of the year I had product endorsements and was making almost as much money as my best year hustling, Sly said. That's great. So, you found a way to turn what you knew how to do best into a legal business, Amy said. Oh, that was just the start. Some of my internet advertisers and endorsers wanted me to branch out further with my videos. They thought I should invite celebrities to take lessons or play me online, and they suggested I get an agent, which I did. It was his idea to have sponsors pay me to play celebrities in a YouTube series for their favorite charities. I win and they pay their charity 10 grand. They win and my sponsors pays my 10 grand to their charity. He also put me onto the idea of starting my own internet business selling custom-made Q sticks and pool accessories under the label Slick Sticks. Customers design their Q sticks on my website and a company in Tennessee makes and ships them to them. They cost $800 to $3,000 a piece. Well, I'm impressed. It sounds like you also have become a tycoon and next guest on a morning talk show, Amy said. Oh, I'm a long way from 50 million hits on the internet and $20 million per annum income, but I did all right last year, grossing almost $500,000. So, when I say that meeting your goals depended upon your past, I was reflecting on my lack of goals that led me down a path that depended on my past to ensure success. I guess we both got where we wanted without giving up who we were or wanted to become. Amy. Come on, the shuttle is waiting on us, Stan called from the restaurant entrance. Be right there, I'm getting your sandwich, she said. It's been good seeing you again, Sly said. Yes, too bad I have to run. I'd love to talk to you more sometime. Well, if you're ever in Denver or Golden, you know where to find me, and if we get too drunk reminiscing, I have an empty couch for you to crash on. Was that a come on? Amy asked. Only if you want it to be, otherwise it's a friend repaying a long overdue favor. They both laughed and gave each other a brief hug. On their way to the airport, Stan finished drinking the coffee and eating his breakfast sandwich, then turned to Amy and asked, "Who was that man you were having breakfast with?" "An old friend from my days living in Denver." "One of your admirers?" She gave him an expressionless look and nodded no. "Very well, I don't expect you to tell me about your past relationships. I certainly don't plan on telling you about mine. But I'm going to need a favor from you after we get home. That phone call I was on this morning was from the Texans who want to go in on a partnership with me. They are coming to Casper at the end of the month to look us over and make a decision. They expect to be entertained while they are there, and I need you to ask some of your girls to be free to spend some or all of their weekend time with them," Stan said. "By girls, are you referring to some of my law firm clients? You said after the last time that you wouldn't ask again. And I meant what I said, but this is different, this is big. Besides, the girls last time didn't seem to mind. They were certainly compensated well. That's not the point. They are my clients, and I'm not your pimp. It's not like I'm suggesting you do the entertaining, I just want you to ask them and set it up. I think that's the least you can do to help me end the business out. After all, without my friends and my support, your law firm wouldn't exist." 2 weeks later, Sly's cell phone displayed an unknown caller. "Hello, Sly here." It was Amy. "Stan and I decided to call it quits. I handed over my practice to a young associate last week. I'm driving and just crossed the Colorado border, and I am wondering if your couch is still empty." "Why, yes, it just so happens it is." "Will this be for one night or two, ma'am?" "2 or more if possible. I'm moving back to Denver to make a new start, and who knows where old beginnings will lead me or how long they might last."
John Schlew is a novelist, short fictionist, and poet. Slick the Stick is one of his published titles in paperback and ebook formats on Amazon Kindle. Other works include the novel Murder at the Nessus Rally, Show Me Big Muddy Daydreams, a collection of short fiction and poetry that includes the novelettes The Low Water Bridge and Rita Donovan. You may find his complete works at amazon.com/author/John Schlew.